Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to navigate through Blender as a beginner. And a lot of people don't really know how to work Blender as soon as they get into it, and it may look a little bit confusing to some people. But once you get to know it, you can make things such as this, and this really honestly isn't that complicated compared to what can be made in Blender. So once you first open up Blender, and I'm not going to show you how to download it because that's just kind of annoying and self-explanatory, but this is 2.79, version 2.79, but it doesn't really matter what version. It's going to be the same controls throughout all of Blender. So the first thing you want to do is right as soon as you load in Blender for the first time, click up here in File and then go to User Preferences. And then go to input and then change this will be select with, and it'll say right. You want to change it to left. So typically on a computer you left click something to select it. In Blender it's you use the right mouse button, and that's not what you're used to, so you just want to make sure it's with the left click and then save user settings and just get out of there. So now it's to what you normally have it at, and I'm going to turn on screencast keys so you can guys see what I am pressing down here. So first of all, to move around, move your not like move, but change the angle of what you're viewing at. You want to hold down the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel button and then move your mouse. And then to move like this, you want to do that, but you also want to hold shift, and then you can move around. And I always have a hand on the keyboard, and it's just the best way to navigate around Blender is just always having one. On the left side of the keyboard is where all the controls are. So you're going to see these toolbars here. Now I'm just going to go through everything and I'll repeat it again, but I'll put it all in the description, or at least most of it. So these things, the left one is with T, you can toggle it with T, and then the right one is N, and you can toggle that with N. So this one you don't really use much unless you're going to be messing with, like, for example, if you're going to be sculpting, which I haven't explained that yet. I'm not going to in this video because I don't even know how to sculpt. But this is when you would use the left panel is when you're selecting all this stuff, or if you're doing weight painting and all that good stuff. But we're just going to be in normal mode, so typically you're not going to use that very often. And then N, you use this a decent amount. Usually not if you're just navigating around, but I usually just keep it closed, so it just looks cleaner and it looks nicer. So remember, hold down middle mouse button to look around, and then shift and middle mouse button to move around. Once you got that down, it shouldn't take very long at all. You should get it pretty quickly. So menus are T and N. And then over here is going to be, I don't know the exact name, but this is where all your tools and stuff are. So this is the render tab, where you're going to select all settings for rendering something. If you don't know what rendering is, it's pretty much like turning this cube right here, and then taking all the colors and materials you put onto it and all the lighting, and then it doesn't have any right now, so it just looks black. But that's what rendering is. And it turns a kind of like a Lego looking scene into an actual scene with shadows such as this. So that's all that stuff. And then the render layer you won't use very much. Scene, you can mess with like the backgrounds of a render or all that kind of stuff. World you use for the same thing, kind of background, and just all lighting and lighting in general. And now this is the objects settings that you have selected. So if I add something in, actually, let's delete this first. So to delete something, you must select it. It's got to be outlined in gold, and then press X, and then you can delete it. Then to add something new, you press Shift A, and then it brings up an entire thing of what you want to add. So for beginners, you're only going to want to go in Mesh, and you can add all this stuff right here. You can add a monkey, and then all the basic shapes. So I'm just going to add a sphere. So now I have the sphere, and then now, so before I talk about this, so left click is selecting something, but right click, you can see moves this little, I don't really know what it's called, but wherever this is, if you bring something in with Shift A, say I want to bring in a cube, it's going to bring it into that position. And I'm just going to delete that with X. And then to bring that back to the center, which is what you want most of the time, you press Shift C, and that'll bring it back to the center. And I didn't mean to press Shift V, it's just Shift C right there. So bring it out here with right click, and then Shift C is bring it back. Okay, so now if you select it, it brings all the properties. It brings the rotation, scale, and location where it's at. See, I'm moving it, and you can see it's moving the location. And if I scale it, I'll talk about how I do that. I scale it, and you can see it changes the scale. So with a basic object, to move an object around without these X, Y, and Z axes, you can press G, and you can freely move it around. And I prefer doing that, but if you want some things to be, directly like on the x-axis or the y or the z, actually, let me just say that first. Okay, so the blue is the z-axis, the red is the x-axis, and the green is the y-axis. And now, if you want to do a little bit more work, which I typically do this, if you press G to move it, you can see here. Let's press G, and then I'm going to press X to move it on the x-axis, and I can also tell it a specific value to move it. I just press 12 right there, and I don't really know where it moved. But typically, if you're doing that, also R is rotate. So if you press R, you can rotate it. And I usually do R. I usually rotate, and then press, say I want to rotate it on the y-axis by, hold on, I moved it. Rotate on the X by 180, it'll rotate that on the 180 degrees. So that's the basic moving around. So G is moving something, R is rotating it, and S is scaling it. And now if you want, see, I accidentally just pressed the right mouse button, Shift C to put that back there. Now if you want to take away some of these things, say if I want to rotate it and then move it a little bit, if I want to make this go back to its original position, I hold Alt and then whatever I want to reset. So if I want to reset the rotation, it's Alt R. If I want to set the movement, it's Alt G, and then same for Alt S is scale. So now it's back to its original form. So those are pretty much the absolute basics of Blender that you have to know to move around and do things in Blender. So pretty simple, and I'll finish going on the toolbar here. So this is for like bones and making skeletons so you can animate, and you won't use that very often unless you're doing like animation and that type of thing. And then this is the modifier tab. You're going to be using this quite a lot actually. This is here, you can add all these modifiers. I'll go into some of those in a different video. And same here, it's more like the amateur and just making all the bones, and I'm not even going to try to explain it, but this right here you're going to be using a lot as well. This is how you add colors to something. So right now we're in solid mode, which is everything's going to be this color. But if I go into material mode by clicking down here, it is now selected to show the material or the color. So I want to press new on this, and then you can name it whatever you want here. And then I'm just going to make it, let's do like a dark pink. So I usually keep it on solid mode because it slows down your computer the least, and it just looks the best. And sometimes it'll show the color. I honestly don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But oh well. And then here, I honestly don't even use this at all. I don't really know what it is by a lot. Same for these last two. This is physics. This is like, when you're animating and that kind of stuff. And I've never used that because I don't really do animation. But yeah, these are all the tools over here, and you can shrink all this stuff by, also, if you right click, if you move something, I don't remember if I said this or not, but if you right click it on, it just stays. So if you want to copy this, which is Shift D is copying something, and I want to make sure it's here. If I just press right click, it just moves back to its original position. It doesn't delete it because it's still here, but I just move it back to its original position. Now you can move all these panels to the correct size that you want them, and you can, if if you're not animating or anything, you can honestly just put this all the way down. Depends on what you want, and then you can also duplicate or even have as many like screens as you want. So if you press these lines up here in one of the corners and drag that, now I have two, and now I can change this as an example to the material mode, and I can do stuff on here, and it will also change it on this as well. And yeah, and to get rid of one of them, you take here and then you just drag it over to replace it, and then it's all back. Now these things right here, this is your light source that automatically just spawns in Blender, and honestly I usually just delete that because I usually add in a sun or something, and I never use that lamp. But you can add in those things by Shift A, and then it's down here on the lamp. You can add all these different kinds of light sources. And now this is your camera, and to get into camera view, you press O on the number pad, and this is the camera in which it is going to be rendered at. So as a rendered image, it will be this point of view. And to move this, if you press G while I have the camera selected, you can move it around. And if you press G again and then do this, honestly, I don't really know what a lot of these are, but all I know is that G is you can move around, and that's really just the main thing that you're going to be using. You could also have a view. Say I want the camera to be looking like here. To move the camera to this position, you want to press Control, Alt, and 0, and then that points the camera in the direction that you're viewing. And to get out of this, you just press the middle mouse button and then look around. Say if I want it here, just Control, Alt, 0, and then there you go. Now this is 3D mode. So say if I have, let's get in a cube here, just move that over here. If this is like this is user perspective, and now if I press 5 on the number pad, it's user orthographic perspective. Now this makes it so, like, say if I drag this scale on the Z-axis to make it taller, you can see I can, so if I press 5 to go back into the normal view, this is like a 3D view that you would see if that has perspective. It's kind of hard to explain. So like I can't see these corners because this is what it would look like in real life. But if I press 5, it's pretty much the 2D version. And it's kind of hard to explain. You'll use this. I'll show you right now. So on the number pad, these are all the views I'm about to show you. So 1 on the number pad is actually, it's on the menu over here, I believe. I don't remember, but I just know 1 is the front view, and then 3 is the right view, and 7 is the top view. And then to do the opposites of all those, you hold Control 1, which is the back view, Control 3 is the left view, and Control 7 is the bottom view. So 1, 3, and 7, and then Control or Alt and those, nope, excuse me, Control and 1 and 3 and 7 does the opposite. And you use those mainly when you are like modeling. You use those quite a lot actually. And then you can only go to those views. See, if I'm in 5, it's not a true view because you can see, you know, it's still 3D. So if I want to like move this, I can, you know, it's not 3D. You just want to press 5 to go into the orthographic view, and then you can do stuff here. Now, more onto the a little bit more complex stuff. It's really not that complex, but it's just, you know, the more advanced things. So right now we are in object mode. As you can see, there's all these different modes. And now if you press tab, you go into edit mode onto whatever the object you have selected. So if I want to go edit mode here, click that and then press tab, and then I'm in edit mode. And here you can edit the object. So like you can do, I'm not going to go into this very much because this is just how to navigate, but this is where you can shape the object and then all that kind of stuff. So once you're in edit mode, I will show you how to do a few things while you're here. So to select everything, and this goes for object mode or edit mode, so everything in here, if I press A, it deselects and it selects everything. So if you press A, it deselects, and if you press it again, it selects everything. So let's go back into edit mode here by pressing tab. So if I want to select all these vertices here, I press A to deselect them all, and then A to select them again, and then they're all selected. And then down here, you can press in edit mode. Let's press A to deselect, and here I can select the edges. I can select the vertices here, and press A to clear, and then here you can select all the faces. So you use those all pretty often. But yeah, so if you want to press, I don't really know what it's called, but if you want to select a few things, if you press B, you can form a box, and a box select, that's what it's called. Say if I want to select this right here, if I let go, it selects what was ever in the box. And you will use that quite a lot. And if you press Z, this is wireframe mode. And it looks a little bit confusing, but this is pretty much like X-ray. So, you know, here you can't see the backside of the sphere, but if you press Z to go into wireframe mode, you can see, you know, X-ray. You can see all sides. And this is pretty useful because if you want to select, like say, let's go in a front view. And if I want to select, make sure you're in orthographic. If I want to select this half of the sphere, I can press B and then select the half of it. And if I want to make this a half sphere, I can press X and then just always press vertices to delete everything that's selected. So press X and then delete all the vertices. And now it is a half sphere, and it's actually a little bit less than a half sphere, I think. Yeah, so actually, you want to delete the faces on this one. There you go. And to get it, I press Tab to get back into object mode, and I am still in wireframe mode, as you can see, but to get out of that, just press Z. And then everything's back to normal. And then, obviously, if you want to go back, it's Control-Z, like in every program, or anything. So that is pretty much all, like, the basics. I will go through a few more things, such as here, you will see, this is all your different kind of views. So if I want to go into the node editor, which you use, it's a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but this is where you edit the nodes. And then if you want to break this view, and I have the N selected, so just press N to get rid of this toolbar here. And then if I want to go back here in the 3D view, and then I can have both views here. And let me just cancel that one, and then change this back to 3D view. So like I said, Tab is into edit mode, and then say if you select vertex mode, if you do Tab, it brings you back to the previous one that you were on. So say I am in object mode, and then I'm in edit mode, and I want to change this to weight paint mode. Press Tab to go back into edit mode, and then so like whatever you select here will replace your object mode. That's what I'm trying to say. And Tab will always bring you to edit mode. So I'm going to go to sculpt mode and then press object mode, then you're back to normal. And then here, this is what engine you want to render in, and typically you're going to use the best one, which right now is Cycles. And that's just the one that most people use. I'm going to press 5 to go back into perspective mode. So yeah, and then here is the pivot point. So if I want to rotate this, right here you can see it rotates in the center of it. If I want to rotate it, so if I have like, if I select this, okay, you can select multiple things by selecting the one and then shift and then clicking. You can select however many you want. You can also do that, so let's unselect Alt or deselect and then do a box select and select these, and then they're both selected. And then if you want to join something, you could press Control J, and then that joins them, and now they're one thing, and so they are no longer apart anymore. And this way you can scale them all together, and this, you use this all the time. Just do Control Z to just Control Z a few times and then get out of that. So now we're back. So let's go over what we have learned today. So middle mouse buttons, look around. Shift and middle mouse button is to move around. Tab is edit mode and object mode. And then remember, T is the left toolbar, and then N is the right toolbar. You can move these things around, or these panels, change the sizes by doing that. Now this is your render engine that you want to do. Deleting is pressing X and then delete. And then wireframe mode is by pressing Z, and then you can get out of that by just pressing Z. And most of these things are toggling, so you can just press it again and it'll get out of there. And then this is your tool panel with all the stuff that you will use quite a lot. This is materials. I'm just going to say the ones that you'll use most of the time. This is the render panel. This is the object panel. This is the modifier, and this is the materials. So those are the ones that you'll be using most of the time, at least in my case. This is where I use them. Oh, also one thing I forgot to say is that down here in these boxes right here, these are your views, or your layers. So if I want to have this a clean new thing, say if I want to make, let's say I just want to make like a pumpkin or something in this one. I make my pumpkin. I'm not going to go over how to make things quite yet. This is just the navigation, like I said. So now this is a separate plane, and then if I go back to this one, like I'm back to the first one. You have all of these. There are 20 of them. You have all these layers that you can do stuff in, and then to have them both in the same, layer, you can press Shift and then select which layers you want in the same view, and then that's all here. Then if you just want to go back to the icosphere, which is this thing right here, just press it back, and you can switch between them. I'm just going to delete this. And then if you want to move something to a certain layer, you can press M and then move it to whatever layer you want. And that is pretty much it for the basic navigation. Make sure to leave a like on this video if you did like it. I will be definitely making more Blender tutorials in the near future. I just got my new room. I have gotten a 3D printer, and I'm going to have a lot of 3D printing videos out as well as Blender stuff. And if you want to support me, it will help a lot. If you go, it works either on if you're on a desktop or a computer or your phone. If you go to my channel in the About section, now it should be below my banner next to the subscribe button and my profile picture. There should be an About tab, and towards the bottom there should be a Support Me link, which will bring you to a link. The link will bring you to a page where you can donate via PayPal. If you would like to do that, that'll help me a lot, especially with 3D printing, to afford the materials and the wear and tear of my machine. And also it gives me a lot of motivation to keep you guys updated, as I cannot be monetized because I am not at 1,000 subscribers yet, or enough watch time. But anyway, that's a different story. But yeah, if you want to support me, that's greatly appreciated. There's no specific amount, just whatever you would like, and you don't have to, obviously, but it's definitely appreciated. If you're not subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. I will reply to every single comment on my videos that I make, unless they're a spam comment or if it's unnecessary to reply. But yeah, I read every single one of your guys' comments, and I will reply to all of them if necessary. Like I said, make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. It lets me know if you guys like these kind of videos, and I will definitely be doing more tutorials on how to make things, or make like scenes and stuff. I will do that in a different video. But I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.